Good afternoon. So today I will be speaking about the spotted wing drosophila, SWD, and the invasive brown marmorated stink bug. For spotted wing drosophila, I will talk briefly about monitoring tools, some more efficient ways you can monitor for this pest. And then I will spend more time on the efficacy of insecticides. For the brown marmorated stink bug, I will talk about the improved monitoring tools, biological control, and some attract and kill options for management. So the research with the spotted wing drosophila involving diluted grape juice started in 2018. So I will not discuss any of those results. What I would like to say is that for monitoring, in 2019, we compared the ability of traps baited with diluted grape juice versus two commercial lures. One is the Sentry lure, and the second one is Alpha Scents. So you can prepare diluted grape juice by mixing 1 part of juice, Concord grape, 2 ounces, for example, in 3 parts of water, which could be 6 ounces. So in 2019, we deployed the traps in late April, and we inspected the traps twice a week. This is what we found. As you can see in this chart, the y-axis shows the mean number of males and female spotted wing drosophila combined. So what you can see is that in mid-May, only the grape juice detected the first spotted wing drosophila. That was also true in late May, 27th to 29th of May. And then the following date, which is the 31st of May to June 4th, Sentry lure also caught a few flies. So numbers were very low, but you can get to the June 17th date. That was about 6 times more spotted wing drosophila in the grape juice baited traps compared to the Sentry lure. So as I mentioned before, this is male and females combined. So when I just take all the information from the grape juice, I found that 85% of the flies are females. And then we did follow-up studies in the laboratory, also in the field, and we're confirming that this grape juice is very attractive to females, more than males. But in contrast, you can see in Sentry lure and Alpha Scents, only 5% of the flies were females. So you're going to attract a lot more males than females with these commercial lures, but you can expect more females than males in the with the grape juice. So in 2020, now we have 4 locations in Massachusetts. We have 5 different treatments. The first one is diluted Concord grape juice. The second one is the Sentry lure, as done in 2019. Alpha Scents is treatment number 3. But now we included 2 Trissolcus lures. One of these is called the broad spectrum lure, and the number 5 treatment is more selective according to the company. So again, we deployed the traps in late April, and we inspected this time once a week. So on May 25th, the traps caught the first spotted wing drosophila. So in the case of diluted grape juice, there were 2 females. When with the Trissolcus number 4 treatment, the broad spectrum, there were 2 females. And with the Trissolcus more selective lure, there were 3 females. So not a big difference in the ability of trapping, but it was more effective than the Alpha Scents and the Sentry lure. Then on June 1st, we caught this, that was this next week, the following week, traps baited with grape juice caught 1 female, or 1 trap got 1 female. So far this is what we have found with monitoring traps. Let's switch now to insecticides. Well, what I would like to discuss is one study that was published in 2019 by entomologists from Michigan State University. So they compared the efficacy of several materials to control SWD. And they also evaluated the effect of simulated rain on residual toxicity. So they have this chamber where they can sample material from the field, and they can expose the material to different amounts of rain, and then they can test the residual effect on the fly and also the wash off. So they evaluated adult mortality, the ability of the insecticides to kill, immature survival, I mean, how many larvae still survives when they're inside the fruit, and also the residue wash off using some analysis that they did. So the materials that they evaluated include imidan, grandivo, which is a biopesticide, exirel, azael, Mustang Max, which is a pyrethroid, delegate, which is a spinosyn, and one adjuvant that was only added to the phosmet treatment, imidan. So what I found is that all treatments were very effective in the absence of any rain. But the least effective material for adults, it was azael. Then this line shows the information about the immature stages, the eggs and the larvae. So they found that delegate, which is spinetoram, and exirel, they were less affected by rainfall. So they have a better ability to stay in the fruit and kill some of the larvae and the eggs which are being laid by the females. Now, what happens when you have rainfall and then you're trying to kill the adults? Well, azael, it was less affected by rainfall. So in the presence of rain, these two materials, azael and exirel, they were very effective. And when they did the residue analysis, they found that imidan actually washes off very quickly from the fruit tissue and also from leaves. So Dr. John Weiss from Michigan State University, he has a video where he discusses that sometimes materials can have good rain-fast properties, but somehow they still lose some efficacy against spotted drosophila. So I am not able to explain to you why this is happening with rainfall and the chemical interactions, but if you're interested, there is a video that I can, when I can send you the PDF of this presentation, it has a link, and Dr. Weiss explains why he thinks this is happening. So good rain-fast effects, the chemical is on the fruit, but it's not killing flies effectively. So I have one slide on organic insecticides. This is coming from the University of Georgia, just to show you that the only material that is effective at killing spotted wing drosophila, it will be entrost. All these materials are approved for organic production. And a second option will be acera, which is the combination of azadiractin, which is neem, and pyrethrins, which is pyganic. So the company combined these two active ingredients. So acera, it seems to be more effective. Then I would say my third option, it will be grandivo, which is a biopesticide. Seems to be working well, but I think it's less effective than spinosad. So again, I just have one slide on this. Now what I would like to do is to present the results of some insecticide evaluations in cherry by Michigan State University entomologists. So in this study, the entomologists evaluated the effects of 3 to 5 applications of individual compounds. They also combined different materials. It's a very long list of chemicals that they evaluated. So I'm going to summarize this into a single sentence. The best performers were delegate and a new chemical, which is called, new material, which is called verdeprine. Verdeprine is a diamide and has translaminar and systemic activity. It's not a neonicotinoid, and it has long residual effect and broad spectrum control. So we're testing this material against plum curculio at this moment, but that's a different story. So again, the best performers, it was delegate, verdeprine, and imidan. But imidan was in rotation with other materials. I can give you the information but not at this moment. It's too much, it's a long list. So one more study is published in 2019. That was done in Blueberry in Georgia. And they compared 2 different regimes. One is called the Improved Management Program, BMP, where they have on week 1, they sprayed imidan, on week 2, delegate, on week 3, malathion, and on week 4, exirel. They have this in the presence of a spread sticker, an adjuvant, which is new film. So in the presence and the absence, there was no effect. And they compared the performance of this program against the grower standard. which basically means that the grower, they were spraying every week just one single chemical, which is malathion. And as a control, they have blueberries that didn't get any insecticide. So what I found is that the improved management program, the BMP program, which included 2 reduced risk insecticides, those are Delegate and Exirel. This program provided significantly higher mortality of adult spotted wing drosophila compared to the controls, which was expected. But the good news is that this program, it was no different from the grower control. So that shows that you can include reduced risk insecticides, such as Delegate and Exirel, there are more, and you can control spotted wing drosophila in an effective way. So for more information, you could go to the New England Small Fruit Management Guide. It provides more materials, options, and for application in strawberries, blueberries, and other crops. So again, one recommendation, I have been including this slide every time I talk about spotted wing drosophila, is that because the flies, in general, house flies and apple maggot and spotted wing drosophila, they have what is called sponging lapping mouthparts. So they have to ingest liquids. So when you add sugar to the liquid, you are going to stimulate the flies to eat. And in particular for Delegate and for Entrust, Spinosa, they're more effective when they're ingested. So when you apply or include sugar into the tank mix, you can make the sprays more effective. So recommendation is to apply 2 pounds of sugar for every 100 gallons of water. Or if you have a small block and you have to spray with a backpack sprayer, you can apply 5 tablespoons per gallon of the material. So let's talk about brown marmorated stink bug. First, monitoring. This slide is to show you that there has been a lot of research done. And in this particular case, there was a publication where 35 scientists, entomologists from different universities, they were working in 115 locations across 18 states. I think it was a couple of years of research. So they found that when they compared this clear sticky trap, which has the pheromone, versus the standard pyramid trap, even though the sticky card is less effective, it provides good information when it comes to the timing of the presence of the peak of the activity. So this is the title of the paper, published in 2020, just a few weeks ago, a lot of authors. But what I want to show you is that you can see on the right, the figure with the mean number of the brown marmorated stink bug captured by sticky cards east of the Rocky Mountains, so the Great Lakes area, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Southeast, which includes Georgia and Florida, etc. So what you can see is that the sticky cards are very good at identifying the beginning and then the peak of activity of the brown marmorated for the adults and for nymphs. So we're now recommending, or they're recommending, the use of sticky cards to monitor for the brown marmorated. It will be easier, cheaper than with the black pyramid trap. So now I have one slide, because trap cropping, it has been shown to be a good alternative for organic growers or for growers who would like to try this as an alternative for management. And as you know, trap cropping means that you are going to be planting a crop which is more attractive to the pest than the cash crop. So there have been a number of papers published on what plants represent good trap crop options for the brown marmorated. Well, sunflower and sorghum are the 2 most attractive trap crops for the brown marmorated stink bug. But also you can see at the bottom, Dr. Russell Missel from Florida, he also has other plants. For example, he has triticale, he has permillet. So we're now doing a demonstration study in Belchertown at the Cold Spring Orchard. So we're planting different plots with dwarf sunflower, buckwheat, permillet, sorghum. So we're going to have plots in the presence and also in the absence of the pheromone. The idea will be, can you bring more brown marmorated stink bug to the trap crop area when you also add the pheromone? And then can you kill them with the insecticide treated netting, which I will talk about that in a moment. So we just planted these seeds, and it's going to be maybe 4 weeks before we have the buckwheat in bloom. So after bloom, when the plants are seeding or producing seeds, they become very attractive to the stink bugs. So now this slide is just to discuss briefly the ghost trap, which basically you can use the brown marmorated stink bug pheromone in combination with a permethrin or another pyrethroid insecticide. So this netting is toxic, of course. When the brown marmorated is attracted to the area by the pheromone, the adults and the nymphs, they walk on these treated surfaces, so they die. However, you cannot buy this at this moment as a grower. It's only for research purposes. So they're working on the label, trying to expand for the use of for monitoring and potentially for attract and kill. But at this moment, cannot be used to control or to kill brown marmorated. I think this will be very useful in the fall, close to harvest, when you have to spray maybe some insecticides, but then you can also have this on the perimeter row, I mean, away from the trees, so that you can kill more brown marmorated stink bugs. So the last topic is biological control. There is a parasitic wasp, which it was actually, it was introduced for research purposes. It was in a lab, USDA lab, but then it was found outdoors. Somehow it made its way to the US without any help. It has been found now in 12 different states. It's called the samurai wasp. So these are the 12 states where it has been found: in the West, California, Utah, Washington, Oregon state, but also in the Northeast, including Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York State, etc. So I have a short video, but only shows well, it's going to show the let me decrease the volume. You can see every single egg of the brown marmorated stink bug. It has been parasitized. That means that the females lay an egg inside the egg of the pest. So from the egg, you have a larva hatching. The larva of the parasitic wasp is going to feed on the material. It's going to kill the egg. They're going to pupate, like becoming a cocoon. And after some days, maybe a couple of weeks, you're going to have this wasp living, mating, and then the females are going to lay more eggs on the eggs of the brown marmorated stink bug. So it has been found again in 12 different states, and it seems to have a lot of promise for biological control of this invasive insect. So this is my last slide. I just want to mention that in China, the parasitism by this wasp can reach 50 to 80% of the eggs, which means that in China, the densities of these pests are lower because of the action of this parasitic wasp. So now Cornell University has been releasing, and they have been also monitoring in New York since 2017. Rutgers University, they have also released the wasps. Those are locations close to Massachusetts in 2 years. So we have not been able to do that, but it would be good to, if we can determine if the wasp is present in Massachusetts, and if it's present, then we can try to increase the populations over time. So what you can see here now is the lifetime reproduction, means that one wasp, one female, can produce more than 150 babies. So that will be a really good help for reducing populations in the future. I don't think it's going to happen in the near future. So Oregon State University is discussing that, well, you can release the wasps in areas which are not sprayed, and they can also perhaps be released in urban settings when you have this invasion by the brown marmorated. So the wasp should be able to find the eggs in the spring after the brown marmorated is going to start becoming active. So it's a good good news. And then that's all what I have to say. If you have any questions.